The other day somebody asked me if I could do a tutorial on a tray that I had made, and since I'm making something using the same techniques, I figured that I'd go ahead and record this. I'm going to be building a mancala board. The first thing that I like to do is to come in and verify my setup. I'm dealing with a board that's 455 by 140. I've got a thickness of 26. And while I'm in here, I want to verify just a couple things. Let's make sure that our stock thickness is set to top. And let's go ahead and make sure that our toolpath 0 is lower left. I'm using hardwood material with the Shapeoko 5 Pro. I've got my retract height set to 10 millimeters. To start this out, I'm going to grab a rectangle, and I'm just going to get the rectangle started. And then from here, I want to come in and set it a little bit smaller than what my material is, so that we've got a little bit of space for work holding and structure and stuff like that. So I've got a 455, so I'm going to probably knock a good 2 centimeters off and just kind of give that a look. So 455 minus 20 is 435. For my height, I want to probably knock that down to 120. I'm just going to come down here and align and center this on my board. And this is probably a little bit close for comfort, so I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to set this to 120. And 435. Probably a little bit close for comfort, so let's knock a little bit off from there. Knock another 10 centimeters off. I've cut through a clamp or two, so I'd rather not do that again. So now we've got our basic shape. We've got a rectangle. For those that have played mancala before, you know that you've roughly got a nice little circle type thing, or actually more of a oval down on the one end. Now the problem with an oval is kind of boring. I want this to have a little bit of an organic shape to it. So with this selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into my node edit, click node edit, and you'll see over here that if you right click, you've got the option to add a node and to cut. So what I'm going to do is just give it a little bit of interesting shape to it. I'm going to stick a node in here. Oh, clicked off. Come back in here and stick another. I'm using a touchpad. I probably should be using a mouse. Insert a node here. I'm going to insert it. Oh, yeah. Do yourself a favor and use a mouse on this. Insert a node. Insert a node. And then we want to kind of transform this a little bit. So just until I kind of get an idea of what I'm looking for, I'm going to grab this node and kind of pull that in a little bit. I'm going to pull this in just a little. Pull that in just a little bit. See if I like that. Don't really like that shape, so let's come over here. Maybe stretch it up a little bit more. Stretch it out. Find a shape that's interesting to you. If you find that you don't have enough flexibility, you can always come in and add another little node right here. Insert a node, and then you can come in here. Another thing that's kind of fun is if you come in here and kind of gently turn these a little bit. It gives a little bit of, again, that organic shape. Drag that around, kind of click done there for a little while. See if you like that. I kind of like that. So I'm going to come up here, and since I'll be cutting this out with a 1/4 inch bit, let's check our stuff right here. So a 1/4 inch is 6.35. Now we can use half of that value. I'm going to go with a 4, just to kind of make sure that our router's got space to get in there a bit. And I'm going to say fill all and say OK. Now I want to take this and actually want to Control C or Command C and paste. I'm going to bring this over to the other side. And so that it doesn't look exactly the same, I'm going to flip it on both sides so that it kind of looks a little bit nice there. With this node selected and Shift Select here, I'm going to go ahead and bring it down to the same right there. Actually, what I want to do now instead is come to here and make sure that we're in the center on both of them. And it looks like I've got 2 pastes that I did right there. So let's select that other guy. Delete that. We'll come back again. And then we're going to Shift Select that and go top to bottom. Now, I'm going to eyeball this just a little bit. I don't quite want it right there, so I'm going to bring it in just a little. Same with right here. That's a little bit far, so let's take it over. It's fine to center multiple times in case you want to just get a feel for what you're doing. Not being too scientific right here. Now that I've got it roughly, let's see, we got about 1.5, and we got about 1.5 grid spaces. So I'll select them both again. Now that I've got them where I want to be, center it up again. You'll see I'll constantly be centering throughout this. Okay, so the next thing that you've got going on a mancala board, I just hit F there to kind of bring everything back into view. The next thing that you've got in mancala is you've got 6 different shapes coming out throughout here on one side and 6 on the other. So what I'll do is, again, I'm going to start out with a circle, and I'm just going to kind of draw a circle in there. And you'll see me jump in and out of this tool a couple times. But I'm going to come out here to the linear, and I'm going to set it to 2 by 6. And the reason why I'm doing this is to kind of get an idea of how far away they can be, how big they can be. Kind of eyeballing right here to see how much space do I got there and how much space do I have there. So a couple things that you can do in here is you can change your X and your Y spacing. So for the Y, you can see I've got a little bit of space up there. I'm going to take that up to 12 and tab out. Maybe I want to do up to 14 and tab out. And just kind of get an idea of where you're sitting. We can also kind of come in here and look at our Y spacing. Not our Y spacing, sorry, our X spacing. Come in here and give it an 8 for an offset. Okay, we can come in here and give it a 10. Kind of get an idea of how much it's going to fill up. Kind of like the size of the circles, because I'm going to come in here in a minute and just start transforming them like we did before. But I want to make sure that I get the spacing figured out right. 16. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do 15. You see that's probably a little bit aggressive, so we're going to drop that back down to a 13. You can see side to side that's doing pretty good. One thing to pay attention to right here, you can go from the centers. So center to center, what's the offset? Or you can say the gap in between. I like the gap in between. And I'm going to say cancel because I know what I like in there, but I don't want circles. Again, we made kind of an organic shape up here. We made an organic shape up here. So I'm going to zoom in on this just a little bit. And I'm going to come over here and do the same thing again. I'm going to hit edit node. And what I want to do, see, need that mouse. Edit node. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert a node in the four other, I guess they're not corners. There's no corners on a circle. And we're going to kind of do the same thing. We're just going to reach up here and stretch that up a little bit. And we're going to kind of stretch that in a little bit, bring this over a little. Just trying to give it a little bit of interesting shape. Let's not get too much bigger than what we were before. But have a little bit of fun with it. If you're not familiar with editing nodes, when you grab this little guy right here, you can twist and create some interesting shapes. Come over here, same kind of thing. If we drag out or drag in, just kind of play with it and learn the tool a little. Twist it up, make that shape fun. I'm not going to get too crazy, but I don't like just plain old regular circles. We'll hit done for now and just kind of pull it out and see, does it look good with everything else. So if you remember before, we did that array copy. We're going to come back into here and we're going to do our offsets again. So we're going to do a 2 by 6. And we're going to come back in and get our spacing back in there. And I can't remember exactly what we had, but let's give that a try. So our Y spacing probably needs to be a little bit more. Give it a little bit more. Okay, now you'll see we got a bunch of small circles for gathering our pieces, but they all look the same. Teach you a little trick here. We're going to unselect group output for now, and we're going to say OK. What I want to do is I want to grab this, select out, and I want to just start rotating things a little bit. Off center that a little bit. Come into your next one. Grab and rotate that back a little bit. Rotate that down. There's no right or wrong way on this, whatever looks good to you. Oh, that wasn't what I was going for. Let's grab that, rotate that down and around. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to, I'm going to select these. You can never remember the left and right thing. I'm actually going to delete those. And I'm going to come down and select these. And we're going to array copy again. This time, we're going to do 1. Sorry, we're going to do 2 and 1. And we're going to leave that right there. And I'm going to say, OK. But for now, I'm going to group them. And then I'm just going to kind of, actually, I didn't want to group them. I want to ungroup. And then I want to group these. Let's nudge that down just a little bit. And again, you'll kind of notice everything looks exactly the same on the top and bottom. So let's just go ahead and flip that like that. And let's flip it like that. maybe I don't like that, so let's flip that. So we've got our shapes, and if we feel that they're a little bit too similar, again, we can come in here and rotate things a little bit. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the boxy outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to hit this little round over fillet. And this time 12 is probably okay. It's going to knock those corners down a little bit. But I want to have a little bit of fun with this. So I forgot to select delete original. So I'm going to select that original. Whoops. Let me get the right thing selected here. Delete that. I'm going to give this a little bit of shape and fluidity as well. So let's come in and let's edit the nodes. One thing that you'll notice is there's a bunch of nodes here, and then there's few nodes throughout here. I want to give this a little bit of, let's actually select everything and let's scale this down a little bit so that we got a little bit of working space. So let's do like 0.95. Yeah, that gives us some more space to play with. And if we get done and we want to scale it up a little bit, we can. So I'm going to hit done. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to hit my nodes. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert a node right here. And I'm going to kind of drag that out a little bit. I'm going to take this one over here and I'm going to drag it in a little bit. I'm going to give that a drag right there. Pull this out a little bit. Kind of pull this back down. And then I'm going to start working a little bit on this side and kind of do the same thing. Give it a little bit of fluid shape. And then if you remember, over here we can actually delete some nodes. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select some nodes, and I'm going to delete that node, I'm going to delete that node. There's way too many nodes for me. Come back in here. Select that node and delete, and select this node and delete. Delete a couple more nodes, grab that, bring that up, bring that out, up and over and down. We'll play with that a little bit. I'm going to stick a node in here. I'm going to bring this in a little. That's a big area right there, so we'll insert a node and we'll kind of bring that in, bring this out a little, and just kind of work your way around. Okay, so I'm going to delete that node, I'm going to delete that node, I'm going to delete a couple more nodes here. We're going to stretch this out a little, stretch this in a little, stretch that over just a little bit, and you got a bunch of nodes right there. Let's delete all that and delete that right there and delete that right there. Let's pull this out, pull this up and around, and then let's come over and select this guy right here, and let's give that a little bit of a twist. Pull it down. I'll take this, bring it over, kind of zoom out, get an eye on what's going on. We'll come over here into this area. We're going to get rid of some of these nodes. Hit D for delete, grab that and stretch it up and over, and grab that, and you'll notice a bit of a kink right there. Let's select there and let's delete that, and let's give that a stretch, and then that a stretch, and maybe I actually want this in a little bit. Let's take that and stretch that a little. Zoom out and make sure you haven't gone too crazy. It's good to zoom in a little bit and do some work, and zoom out a little bit and do some work. All right, we'll hit done. Again, I want to make sure that I've got plenty of room for my router bit, so I'm going to come back up in here and I'm going to fill it all. I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to do my 4. This time I'm going to say replace original vectors. And we'll say okay. So I'm looking here and I'm not quite liking this. There's a little too much space in there. So let's come back in and let's select some nodes in here. There's too many nodes. Let's hit D for delete and grab this down, grab that node, bring that up. Let's select a couple of those and delete those, and that one right there. Pull that down. Let's twist that around a little bit to give it a little bit of something, something. Delete that one. Let's delete that. And Gibbs. Delete that. And that again is just kind of sticking out a little bit too much for my taste. So we'll grab that and we'll bring that in. We'll zoom out. Done. Last, I'm going to come in here one more time. Replace original vectors. The nice thing is when you do this, it kind of highlights in red what you're going to be getting rid of. Okay, so now we've got some nice shapes. We've got some nice fluidity. Let's look down in here again. This is a little bit much for me. So I'm going to come back in here. Where that kink is at, I'm going to pull some of these out. We're going to hit that one right there. We're going to delete that. Hit that one and delete that, and that one and delete that. Okay, now we want to take a look and start doing some modeling. If you remember, our material is 26 millimeters thick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this right here. I'm going to come to the model. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select model shape, and I'm going to set the first one flat. So kind of what I want this to do is come up a little bit and then have a little bit of a doming effect on the top, and then I'm going to drop things down. I also like to try to keep about a millimeter off the top. The reason why I do that is to kind of let the router do some of that work and smoothing things down a little bit. So if we take the 26 minus 1 for that millimeter, we're left with 25. So let's just play with this a little bit. Let's knock another 5 millimeters off, and let's make this be 20. We'll call this base. We're going to say add, and I'm going to hit show 3D. So this is where we start seeing what is this board going to look like. I'm going to come up here and kind of just look around, play with it, make sure I like that. All right, now we're going to hit done. Also, since I'm doing this in a light wood, I'm going to come over here to tool paths. I'm going to select beach. I'm a very visual person, so it's nice to be able to see it in a wood similar to what I'm going to cut it to. So next thing I'm going to do with that same outside selected is I want to come in here and I want to put a little bit of a rounded top on this. Just a gradual slope. We'll give that 5 millimeters back. And then we're going to hit show 3D. So you'll notice right here that everything turned red. This is because we're going over the top of the material, the pounds that we've got set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this height limit. I'm going to hit scale height. We're going to hit apply. So now you'll see that we've got a nice little slope going on that. I think that's going to add a little bit of character. Oh, so I'm going to come back, I'm going to hit hide 3D, and we're going to call this, just so I remember what it is, base round. I'll hit apply. Okay, I'm going to hit Control A or Command A. I hit Shift and deselect the outside. We want to leave this as round, and then we need to hit done first. Then we add another model shape. So we're going to leave that as round. So if you remember, the material is 26 thick. I want to leave a good little bit of a material at the bottom. I don't want to go completely to the bottom. So I'm going to come in here now and I'm going to hit, then I want to drop this down. Let's subtract. We got to remember our outside shape is going to be 25 off. We want to leave a little bit there. Let's see. Let's do 19 and give that a look. The reason why I chose 19 is we're going to be subtracting from where we're at, and this will give us a little bit of space left. I want to hit show 3D. And this just kind of gives you an idea, looking at the top side, what these shapes are going to look like. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to say subtract. I'm going to apply. So now we've got our stuff going on right there. I want these to be a little bit deeper. So I'm going to come in now, I'm going to take this to about an 85. 85 just because that's what I've tried in the past, and that's kind of what I like. I want it to be nice and thick. But I also want to scale the height on this. So this will give us a little bit of space in there now. So we'll get an idea of what's going on. Turn that around a little bit. Look at it from the top, look at it from the bottom. Make sure that you got clearance and everything going on in there. Just grabbing that and moving it around. Hit F to kind of set us back up. So now we've got that done. And now I'm going to do something I should have done a lot earlier. We're going to go ahead and give this, we're going to hit save and call a save. Okay, back in here, show 3D, hide 3D. I must have forgot to switch that like I thought I did. Get in there, make sure nothing looks like it's going to be too sharp or too deep or anything like that. So now that I'm looking at this again, that might be a little bit too deep on the pockets, the holes. So unfortunately, I haven't found a way to do this. When I bring this up to edit, we only get access to the component parameters. So I'm going to have to delete this right here. And then I'm going to Control A to select again, deselect that. Really wish that there was a way to come back in and edit the shape parameters and the component parameters after the fact. If you know what I'm missing there, let me know. Alright, come back to 19 again, and we're going to hit subtract. And this is going to be our holes. We'll hit apply, show 3D. Okay. scale height. And now instead of the 85 and not quite the 45, maybe what we can do is meet in the middle somewhere. We'll do 65. Apply. You can see that kind of widen things out just a little bit. Kind of come in, take a look, see what's going on. So, I'm going to hit done, and I'm going to save. So there we have it. We've got that set up. Maybe I want to put some little designs on it. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Let's go take a look and see what's going on inside of our library here. Right now I'm under all categories. I'm just going to kind of scroll to the right a little bit, see if there's anything that looks interesting that might fit on there. Pretty interesting things, but nothing quite yet. Here's some nice little interesting things. Kind of look like reeds to me, or not reeds, kelp or weeds growing in the water. Not quite what I'm looking for. Maybe, I don't know. No, not really. You come to the right a little bit more. That's definitely not a bee. Beans probably wouldn't be right. Scrolling through here. No, I'm not seeing anything that's really gonna fit on here. No flags. So these little guys are kind of interesting. Don't want any faces. Don't need any leaves. These waves are kind of interesting. So let's come back down here to the bottom and let's take a look. Let's just select the waves. I may not use all the components out of one of these, but these are kind of interesting. Let's give that a go. Let's bring that over here. And let's bring that out of the way just a little bit. Like I said, I like the idea of this, but I don't want all of them. So I'm going to bring it off the screen a little. Select out here and come back in. And I kind of like that. Let's grab that and bring that down. See if we can't do something with that. And let's see, maybe this one's a little bit, that's about the same. We'll select both of these, the rest of these. Well, I don't CAD on a regular basis. I forget the ups and downs. So I'm going to take this. I'm actually going to bring it up here. And we're going to resize this a little bit. Bring that down to here. I'm going to bring this over to here. We're going to see if we can't get this to look interesting. Just trying things out. Let's stick that over there. Let's come back into modeling. And let's do this. And let's grab that and let's do a subtract. Let's show 3D. So, oh man. It's probably because I don't have, there we go. Maybe that's selected now. Come back in and show. Okay. So see how that puts a little bit of something going on in there? Maybe what I want to do is I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to come back, hide 3D. I'm going to take that and bring it up through the middle just a little bit more. Oh, let's turn that snap to snap to grid is off. That's a little bit jumpy right there. So we're going to come back in here and we're going to keep that at round and we're going to say subtract again, show 3D, apply. Let's move that around a little bit. See how that's creating a little bit of a valley in there? Okay. Let's change this to scale and apply. All right, that is more interesting. That adds a little bit of extra something to it. All right, I'm gonna hit done and I'm actually gonna delete that component one more time. And I'm gonna come into here. I'm gonna resize that again. What I want to have happen is have that stay within the bounds of my thing. I'm going to hit done, and I'm going to hit edit node again, and I'm going to grab this node, and I'm going to kind of bring it over here a little bit. I'm going to come to the other side and bring that over just a little bit. And I'm going to play with this just a little. Yeah, let's see, select that. Let's make that a little more fluid and make it match that a little bit better. You don't want it to be too goofy looking. I want it to blend just a little better. Come back over here to the other side. Same kind of thing. We're going to grab this and bring it over here. I'm going to come back a little there. Come up a little there. Grab that node. Bring it and get that to match a little better. Grabbing this over here, pulling that up. I'm going to come back and hit done. model one more time. And we're going to hit at that. Oops, I should probably select that vector again. Let's actually Control C, Control B. Let's bring that down, and let's actually flip this one the other way. We'll see if we can't get that to come in right here. And then select it again. Let's do a little bit of editing here at the end. Grab this and put that right there. Grab this, put that down here. Grab this guy, bring it over a little. I think that side matches up fine. Go back and double check on the other end. Edit this. Grab here. Bring and stretch that out. Stretch that down. As long as we're close. I'll get most of the imperfection there out in the sanding. Okay. I'm going to grab these two, come back into our model. And we're going to come back to subtract. And we're going to set to scale. Keep that round. 45, hit apply, and show 3D. And we'll kind of come back in and just check that we're seeing our little bit of, not a lot, but just a little bit of thing. That kind of makes me feel more like a river flowing or something like that. Hit F right here to bring it back around. We'll check our bottom, make sure that we're not flowing too much out. The bottom, okay. That's why we left our tolerances earlier a little bit thicker. It's a little bit thin in some areas and a little bit thicker in others. It's going to be okay structurally. Hit F again to kind of bring us back. And then we're going to hit done. Next part is our tool paths. Again, this is using some of the features out of Pro. So we're going to come in and select our outside, and we'll go ahead and set up our roughing path first. Select your tool. I'm going to use my 201 1/4" end mill. Leave everything there and hit OK. And we're going to call this rough 3D. Naming really helps you when you come back later on. You're trying to look at things. Let that calculate that. So we're going to show a simulation. I'm going to turn off my tool paths right here. You'll notice we got that extra little millimeter there that we're going to be cutting down. Let's come over here to beach. All right, so I've actually found recently that I can run a little bit faster than that on my feed rate. So I'm going to take that times by 1.15 and hit the equal sign. That knocked a couple minutes off. Alright, so the next thing we need to do, select this outside parameter again. And we're going to hit finish. Use the current selection. Rather than my 201, I'm probably going to come up here ball end mill. 202. That's a quarter. And the step over rate, we actually want to take that and times that by 0.1, do a 10%. And then my feed rate, again, I can run it a little bit quicker. The nice thing is we can kind of adjust some of this mid-cut if we need to adjust our chip load, but might as well start out at a good starting point. 1.15. Okay. And that's going to take 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and show our simulation. You notice that's kind of rough still right there, so maybe I don't want to use that ball in. Let's take a look and see what that looks like with just the 201 and the times by 0.1. I don't have a lot of detail in there, so that's fine. 0.1 equals . Just kind of taking a look and playing around with the stuff a little bit. Okay, the last thing that we need to do is we need to do a contour, and we're going to use the current selection. Make sure that we select our outside. Use top and use bottom. I like to say you cut out on this. Any of that. One thing that we need to do is come back into our design, and let's get some, let's select the outside. Let's get a couple tabs. We'll put some tabs in some places it'll be easy to clean up when we come along. Tabs are pretty simple to clean out, so you need to put a couple in. Don't be scared. Alright, we'll come back to our toolpaths again. We'll show simulation. Look at it, see if there's any obvious problems. Every once in a while when I do this 3D stuff, I end up with some extra holes going through. You don't want to do that. Wasteboard's got plenty of holes in it already. Just kind of looking around a little So there we have it. I'll probably end up coming back and playing with my speeds and feeds just a little bit to make sure that I'm a little more efficient. 2-hour cutout. It's probably a little bit longer than I want it to take. But there we have it, mancala board.